Maverick Physical Therapy. Welcome to kind of winter in San Diego and the beginning, the genesis of a long kind of episodic series surrounding the squat matrix. Squat matrix, a very great activity and basic tool that we can use to attack tons and tons and tons of things when it comes to mobilizing the feet and the ankles and the hips. Comes to improving functional strength, when it comes to including the trunk with it and the upper extremity to drive motion from the top down. So we have several series. How many? I don't know yet. Off to your side right here on the dry erase board is this little nomenclature kind of functional checkerboard that a good colleague and great mentor over the past 15 years, Gary Gray, physical therapist back in Adrian, Michigan, put together and designed that focuses around and upon the three dimensions in which we move in. So the sagittal plane, forward and backwards, the frontal plane, side to side, and then the rotational planes. And so when it comes to that, those are great opportunities and great ways for us to be able to, based on what a patient or a client's needs are, to be able to feed on into, to mobilize and help empower them and help get them stronger. So as you can see up on the top here, we have 9 little boxes. So the first 3 series are going to focus around kind of what we consider a normal positioning. The second episode, kind of a wide positioning. And the third series, kind of a narrow positioning. And so this normal position is basically putting the body, putting the patient in a position in which their feet feel pretty comfortable. So of these 9 boxes right at the top here in checkerboards, let me have you take a little glance with me a second. So what you'll do, you have 3 rows and 3 columns. So you're going to take 1 letter from each row and 1 letter from each column from top to bottom when we're playing around with this. And it'll make sense in a second as I kind of call out the progression of this. We have 27 different common ways and a good couple hundred uncommon ways, and a lot more than that when we start kind of playing around with things. So for the all basic intent of things, what we'll start off with our feet pointed forward and a good shoulder width apart kind of foundation is the XXX kind of nomenclature, and then we'll progress from there. So you can do these along with me and just kind of play around a little bit. So good normal position. I usually like to add a reach to it. It facilitates some good kind of anterior rotation of the pelvis. Helps give me some good hip flexion. Both feet, it's important on all these, are nice and flat. So we have XXX. The next progression is RXX. So we take from the top row, we put the right foot forward. The top row signifies our tweaks, our progression in the sagittal plane, the X, the R, and the L. The X, the W, and the N, that middle row right there signify our progressions in the side to side, the frontal plane. And then our third row, the X, the I, and the E, signify our progressions in that transverse, that rotational plane. So RXX, both feet are pointed forward, right leg is forward. And then we go LXX. Left foot is forward, a nice little squat, a nice little reach. These are great ways, this XXX and this RXX, LXX progression are a great way with this back, foot, and ankle and hip being more weight bearing to load up that left foot and ankle, to load up that left hip, that posterior hip capsule, to get us some good flexion, and then that tail curl joint, that mid-tarsal joint, that whole kind of foot and ankle complex. What we'll do next, we're going to go back to an R. So we did XXX, we did RXX, we did LXX. Let's go ahead and play around with a little RXE and a little RXI. So RXE, right foot is forward. Let's rotate the feet on out, and let's go ahead and squat. I'll give you a rationale as we do these, what I'm looking for with the feet rotated on out. I'm able to, at the foot and the ankle, get some dorsiflexion, but then also eversion of the subtalar joint, the calcaneus. I'm looking at that. I'll use that as an assessment tool. I'm also hip complex, just kind of creating a little space in the anterior kind of hip capsule. It allows me to rule in and rule out some feet and ankle and hip type stuff. What we'll do next, we'll go in RXI. So progressions then in that transverse, that rotational kind of plane. So with the RXI position, a lot of you will notice that you will, again, feet flat on the ground, will run out of slack pretty quickly. I love the RXI and the LXI kind of squats. They really open up that posterior hip capsule, all that tissue in the back of the butt. Feet and ankle wise, it gives me some good dorsiflexion and then inversion, which is very similar to what not very similar, it is exactly what we're getting in TZ2 gait. Let's now go to an LXE and an LXI. So left foot is forward, X, meaning no real change in that side to side plane because it's still considered kind of normal with the X. All X's signify kind of normal, if there is such a thing as normal. Let's go ahead and rotate the feet on out. LXE. So we have that sagittal plane as well as that rotational plane, kind of that transverse plane, kind of tweak. And then let's go LXI. LXI, a nice little squat, a nice little reach. It's important, like kind of with the staggering, I'll typically just start off patients in terms of the staggering. Let's say if I'm in an LXX position with the big toe on the right foot, right across from the ball of the foot on the left, and then I'll work my way on back. Some of these loadings are quite substantial once you start to tweak and kind of play around with them a little bit. And so loading wise, as it becomes a little easier, we can continue to kind of separate the feet a little bit. And right there, I'm getting a big load in the back of the butt from kind of the top down driver of the upper extremity. And then I'm also getting a big time load at that right foot and ankle. Those are kind of what we call kind of the standard X position, normal 9-way squat matrix right there, brought to us by a great leader of my fellowship program, great doctor of physical therapy, Gary Gray. Play with those guys. I think you're going to see some great results playing around with those.